trust yourselves, trust your kids. Parents, you got this. You've been doing this really well for 18 years with each of your kids. Keep leaning into that. Keep loving them. Keep giving them space. They're going to grow. They're going to make mistakes. As you know, they make mistakes. They grow. They learn from those. And just keep supporting them.
Welcome to Marquette Cares, the podcast that highlights all the ways Marquette is the difference, lights the fire in our students, our community, and our world. Our guest today is Steve Blaha, Director of Campus Ministry at Marquette University. Steve is a native of Milwaukee. He has served in ministry for almost 30 years, with a significant part of that being at Marquette, his alma mater, from which he earned a bachelor's degree as a teaching major in religious studies. Steve also holds a Master of Divinity degree from the University of Notre Dame. Along with his work as director, Steve accompanies students as they prepare to receive the Catholic sacraments of initiation and coordinates ecumenical and interfaith initiatives on campus. He has experience in school, parish, and nonprofit settings. Steve, I'm so glad that you're here on the podcast with me today. You and I have worked together quite a bit at Marquette in a lot of different ways. I wanted you on the podcast today because I think there's a lot of things that people have ideas about campus ministries, think about campus ministries. I know there was a lot of things that I thought about campus ministries before I got to know you and work with you. So I really wanted you on today to talk about that and talk about all the many, many different things that you and campus ministries do at Marquette for our students, with our students, and for everybody really at Marquette. So in a nutshell, in the biggest, most kindest nutshell of all, give me an overview, give everyone an overview of what Campus Ministries does at Marquette.
Thanks, Kelly. It's great to be here today with everyone and excited to be on Marquette Cares. So campus, when we think about Marquette University and our mission for students, a big part of that is the promotion of a life of faith. And outside of the classroom, campus ministry is the office that has been missioned to help students grow in their faith, in their spiritual development, to help accompany them in finding meaning, and to really create an environment on campus and foster an environment that helps us grow in our Catholic Jesuit charisms as a university. And so we're a holistic office supporting the spiritual needs of all students. So our diverse campus, we're a Catholic multi-faith community at Marquette, which is a beautiful space for our students to learn and grow and really engage with peers who share faith with them, peers who share a different faith amongst our campus community, and to really build up the rich spiritual engagement and exchange that a Marquette education can offer. So campus ministry, we're tasked with supporting all of our students across the board. And we do that in a number of different ways. We've got a great retreat program, liturgies, ecumenical and interfaith opportunities, multicultural ministry, choir and music in a variety of ways, service and spring break immersion opportunities. So just a host of offerings. We try to really gear programs on campus to meet individual student needs, whether they're just in need of like one-to-one spiritual direction or care, or whether, a larger community setting where they can be in a small group like a Bible study, and walk with other people and accompany each other through the course of a semester or a year. Or if they just want to do service and get out and be the difference in the world, to live a faith that does justice. Those are all our important taglines that we try to embody in campus ministry.
One thing that I think people, when they think about Marquette, like, yes, we're Catholic and we're a Catholic university, but we're a very certain kind of Catholic university. We're a Jesuit university. Mm-hmm. And I know before I came here, because I'm not Catholic, that we've talked about that, I didn't really know what Jesuit meant and what it stood for. And it's a really important part of being Marquette and what we stand for. And when I learned about, that Jesuit and where Marquette is and what we do, that is a huge, important part, that those go together. That really meant a lot to me, made me sort of proud to be at Marquette, of what those ideals are. So for everyone who's listening who does not understand that and doesn't get why that is important, of all the things of Marquette and why being Jesuit matters, why does that matter?
Yeah, great question, Kelly. And it's something that we certainly are proud of and continue to be proud of and try to foster our Jesuit heritage. So within the Catholic Church, there's many different communities, religious communities, many different groups of people, and the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, which were founded by St. Ignatius of Loyola, continue to foster his insights and charisms of what does it mean to follow God in the world. And the Jesuit insight is that God accompanies each of us in our daily lives, helps us to live in love and to live our very best selves in the world. And how we do that is continuously being people who discern, who are active in the world, following where our passions are leading us, our dreams, our hopes, for the betterment of the world, always building up the common good. And so at a Jesuit university, we want students to be empowered and to be able to, how do I discern? How do I make decisions in a prayerful, reflective manner where I'm paying attention to what's going on in the world around me, my own life, my peers, my friends, but also the needs of folks who are on the margins. How are my gifts designed to build all this up? At the heart of this is a sense that God has created all of us in love and for love, and everything in the world is meant to help build up that relationship and that action. And things that do, embrace them. Things that don't, we set them aside because they get in the way of building up the common good.
Yeah, that is, I think, one of the things when I learn more about what it means to be Jesuit and what Marquette does with that and the discernment process, that really sort of, because I'm Lutheran, so, sort of like as I grew up saying like Catholic light a little bit on the other side of that, that made me sort of feel more kinship, I guess, to Marquette and to that whole process, and really brought me a lot closer to feeling like the mission and helped me understood it a lot better. And in that sort of regard of helping students along that road and helping students sort of discern why they're at Marquette or discern their purpose in life, which is really what we do, you and Campus Ministries and supporting students are supporting them in so many ways. One of those ways is in times of transition. We get those students as freshmen, and they are sort of, as I like to call, like they're baby adults, like, right, they're entering the world and they're coming into this new place in Marquette. What do you do for freshman students as they're entering into this new chapter? Because I tell parents a lot, like, there's a lot of big transitions in life for students. Kindergarten is one. I used to be a school counselor. I've told you that. Third grade is another one. Freshman in high school. And then the last one is going off to college if your student chooses to do that. That's a huge transition time, not only educationally, maturity-wise, but spiritually, I can imagine. The spiritual side that's a transition that I'm not familiar with, but I imagine you are.
Yeah. And that it's a massive transition because part of that is not only moving away from home and maybe support networks, but also, or support systems, but also this is like just developmentally, as I'm continuing to grow into my adulthood, how do I understand myself? How do I understand God? How do I understand the world around me? And to develop a relationship with God and with others that are actually adult in nature and aren't based on something maybe I learned are based on what I learned in grade school, but aren't the same mechanisms of relating. Once you're beyond being 8 years old, what works at 8 works at 8, but it doesn't work at 18 for anything, any part of life. And our spiritual life is no different. And so I think for that first year, some of the main markers across our campus, but certainly in campus ministry, how do we help students feel and grow into a sense of belonging where they see themselves named and known, which then enables them to grow. And so on day one, as we're welcoming students, offering blessings to them in their residence halls, greeting them, we have hall ministers who are present in our residence halls to greet, to help accompany them throughout the year, meet for one-on-one pastoral care, but also offer some small group programming or some larger group programming in the hall, and really to foster an environment where spiritual life is welcomed and embraced. And remember, Catholic multi-faith community, it should reflect the lives of who our students are in their residential space. If this is home for me, it should be my home spiritually as well. And so, which is a really rich then space for students to engage in who they are. We also offer first-year retreat called Ignatian Leadership Retreat, which is it explores basic Ignatian values, finding God in all things, cure personalis, contemplatives in action. What does it mean to lean into a life of reflection and be active in the world and discern? And that's just after they start school. So we try to offer an ease into campus. As well, we just really want to encourage them to jump into a life of prayer, whether those are worship opportunities that they're used to, like Sunday Mass, or if it's something different where they believe that, hey, coming to Taizé prayer and ecumenical prayer service on Mondays will be a good addition to my prayer life here on campus, gathering with Christians from across the tradition to sing and pray together. So we also offer small groups for our first-year students so that they can have a sense of like, who am I with? Can I really connect with others one-to-one, where my faith is known, where I'm really known, the deepest parts of myself have a space. And as well, like, other students may be much more like, that's great. I would love that. I like to be out doing service. And we sponsor the Midnight Run program, which is Marquette's largest weekly service initiative, where students will go to meal program sites and accompany folks who are experiencing housing or food insecurity. They'll sign up for the same shift every week. So maybe that's a Monday lunch shift where they're going and not just serving food, but really meeting and building connections with persons on the margins, really repairing the breaches that exist for us in our society to help humanize all of us. And that's a beautiful growth for our students, but an important space for us as a Jesuit community to lean into caring and being of service to others, and allowing that to transform our heart and our learning inside and outside the classroom. We're always available as an office to meet with students one-to-one. We try to offer a very welcoming office space and encourage people to do retreats and service and get involved with their faith. But also if there's things that they're missing too, if they're like, this is really important to me, like I'm not seeing this here on campus. We've got an open door where it's like, well, maybe it does exist on campus and let's help you get connected. Or have you considered leadership in taking on a new initiative and having support from our staff to do that? So those are some of the ways that we help support first-year students coming in.
I've heard a lot of students talk about Midnight Run, and it wasn't something I was aware of until I had a student who was getting involved in it, and he was like, I can't believe you haven't heard about it, Kelly. It's so exciting. Like, you need to come down and check it out. And then when I looked into it, and read about it, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like this, more students need to get involved. And I feel like the next semester got huge, and so many students got involved. So that is a really cool program. Another thing that you and I don't want to say unfortunately work on a lot, but we interconnect a lot on is when our students experience a loss, which unfortunately does happen. It seemingly happens a lot. We sort of work together on that in a lot of different ways. I like to think that Marquette as a university really rallies around our students when that happens, because unfortunately our students do experience loss of a parent, a sibling. And as devastating as that is, I think we do a really good job of letting them know, like, we're here for you. We've got you. I sort of do that on the university side in supportive ways. And you really do that well on the spiritual side and the campus ministry side. So I know what I do, and I sort of know how you go about doing it. You really go all in. And from what I see, probably do more than people think you do when students experience a loss. Like, I've been really moved by students that later coming to see me, and I'll say, campus ministries reach out to you, right? And they just like overflow with gratitude about how campus ministries has touched them, and like not just them, but their family. So I want people to know how much you and campus ministries do when that happens. And so just explain a little bit about what that looks like.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. And super grateful for your partnership and leadership in these really, really terrible, difficult moments for students. And each time one of our students experiences a loss, and many of our students experience very big losses during their time at Marquette. It's just something that we just naturally need to like just wrap wrap them up and support them and care for them and walk with them. And that's not a short-term thing. It is as long as they need us. We really want to be there supporting them. And it looks different for each student. I mean, the first thing that I want to do when I hear about a student who's lost a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, close friend, is want to reach out to them directly and just express to them my condolences and hear a little bit more about the person that they've lost and just what they're experiencing at the moment. And so I'll reach out, I'll connect in a couple of different ways with each student. And then I'll also take a look at who are they connected to right now? Who are their communities that are supporting them day to day before this loss? And so hall ministers will jump in if someone has experienced a loss who's living in a residence hall, and they'll go and connect with the students. So we're trying to offer multiple people that students know that they can connect with and feel comfortable. Today, I just need to just sit down and talk, and this is what today's looking like. And it's been a horrible day. And I didn't think it was going to start that way. Or it's been a horrible day and it's trending up, and I just really miss my loved one. And I really just need somebody who will just listen and understand that I don't have to give a whole spiel about what's going on or even try to defend why I'm feeling a certain way, where I can just be like cared for and supported. We'll also reach out to the deans of the colleges so that their academic support is in place, and so that their professors are informed. And our professors are just and deans are so caring about our students and go way out of their way in a maximal way to try to offer support in the academic setting so that our students can know, you never know what's going to happen in a class or outside of a class or when you're doing an assignment, when you're experiencing great loss and tragedy. And so to have your professor in your corner is just such a great help to academic success. Likewise, I'll reach out to Marquette Central if it's a loss of a parent, because oftentimes, that's a significant financial concern. And just to, put a little notation that if there's some financial concerns in the future, that our financial folks are in the know so that they can support students on that end. And then likewise, who are the other supports? Are there friends that are impacted by this, floor mates, roommates, and we want to support them as well. Even if it's just helping coach them on how to be good listeners and how to be good supports and what the grieving process looks like. And in reaching out to students, I also really try to be super comprehensive. I mean, campus ministry for, some folks will be like, yeah, I really want to talk with campus ministers. For other folks, it's like, I'm not there right now, but I'll totally go over to the counseling center. I would love to do that. It's like, yes, what a great resource. And make use of this incredible counseling center. Or Kelly, your work in the care team, and make use of these wonderful people that are here to support. So that's really critical as well. We will offer prayer services, masses for students, for their loved ones. Whether that's they're already scheduled liturgies or whether it's this would work well, I would like my friends from my floor to come to this. We will happily, try to get some things set up so that students can have those important prayer opportunities that help them in I'm here at Marquette, which is part of what it means to be home, and my loved one is being remembered and prayed for here in the place where I call home for college. And that's really critical to their happiness and belonging and their healing. So.
And we, I'm sure a lot of people know that we had a real tragedy in September. We lost two lacrosse players that affected our whole campus and the lacrosse team terribly. And you and campus ministries were heavily, heavily involved in helping that team and our campus heal and move on from that. And you did really beautiful services and masses for that. And I heard a lot of students went to campus ministries after that, and you all were a huge source of comfort and just a real place of healing for them. So on behalf of that, I just want to thank you for all of that, because that was a really hard time for many students and just our campus in general. There's no way to prepare for that. There's no way to know that how we're going to cope with that. But despite that, in that time, it was like you did know how to at least get students through that time by just being there in that spiritual sort of way. So in that sort of really dark, horrible time, like that was a really beautiful thing that I feel like Marquette did really well. And you were a huge part of that. So well done.
Thanks, Kelly. We continue to pray for Noah and Scott and our incredible athletes on the lacrosse team and their coaches and their families. And Noah and Scott's lives touch so many people at Marquette, and just incredible people that they are. And so their loss is a huge hole in our community. So we continue to walk and support and heal and just, day to day, one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely. Another really tough situation that this is something I wonder if you find yourself in, which I think you do a lot, is, we don't just have students that are Catholic on our university. We also have students who I think maybe are Catholic and come to times where they're questioning that a lot. And they probably come to you and have questions, or students who aren't, like I said, aren't Catholic and want to know, well, where does Marquette stand on this or what? How do you deal with those situations, or how do you guide students through when they're questioning their faith, or how do you interact with students of other faith in campus ministries? That's always kind of been something. I know you do it really well, but what does that look like?
Thanks, Kelly. So I'll take sort of two parts of that question. So first, I'll jump in with when students are wrestling with faith questions, and then how do we foster a really rich multi-faith community on campus? And so I just love it when students are wrestling with stuff. Like, college is such a great space to wrestle with the big questions, because it's part of the growth process. Like, they're literally growing as you mentioned at the very beginning, this is a big time life transition. And so they're asking big questions of, who am I? What meaning does this have? Who is God? And critically, like, it's important in our lives to really come to know God in a new way regularly, because what I've found in my own life, and I don't think that I'm alone, is sometimes I'm like, this isn't working so much as far as how I'm approaching life and seeing things. And I'll spend some time in prayer and reflection on it. And I'm like, Steve, your God, you've put God in a box. That God doesn't fit in a small box. You're looking at this too narrowly. Who is God inviting you to be, and how is God inviting you to see the world? And I just believe in a God that is so big and loving that when suddenly I am in a rut, oftentimes I'm like, oh, I've put God in a small box, and God doesn't live there, and so that's helped me personally. But I know for our students, I love it when folks come in with questions and they're wrestling with things. They're meeting with their hall ministers, and they're like, this is what's going on. And it's a great time just to invite their growth, reflection. Oftentimes it can be as simple as just listening and reflecting, back where they're finding themselves. And sometimes they need information. They need some expertise on, like, okay, are you dealing with this social question? Are you dealing with this experience that you've had in life and in the church? Are you experiencing with just trying to understand, like, the concept of God, or a personal God, or, you name it. And so I love those conversations. Those are great. And so doors always open. All of our staff is like, yep, game, let's do this. Let's get together. This is critical stuff. Do the work now, because if you're not doing the work, you do miss out on relationship and a horizon that's really beautiful. As far as our multi-faith community on campus, like, we want all of our Marquette students to know that Marquette is their home spiritually and in all ways. And so we want to offer lots of spaces where students feel it is theirs and it's their home to practice their faith, that they have ministers that are here to support them, that there's activities that are going on. So they're like, yeah, Marquette's my home. So we have a couple of different ways that we do that. So we offer a number of different worship spaces on campus. So we've got, if you walk down the campus ministry hallway in the Alumni Memorial Union on the second floor, you'll be walking down towards campus ministry. ministry, and you'll see our Muslim prayer space and ablution stations. And so we want to foster spaces for our Muslim students. Our Jewish students, we have a Center for Jewish Life in Stratus Tower, and we also foster, some celebration spaces there as well during the High Holy Days. There's an interfaith prayer and meditation room that students can just pop into any time of day, same as the Muslim prayer space. If the AMU is open, those spaces are open. Come on in and you get some space. And then there's the Chapel of the Holy Family just outside our main office. And students are very welcome to pray there. And so we'll have Christian students praying in there. We'll have Catholics praying in there and attending Mass in there from time to time, weekly actually. So spaces are important. People are important. And so our staff, we really try to have a staff that is adept at, attending to students' needs. We have a Muslim chaplain on our staff as well. And we have ecumenical partners and interfaith partners that we affiliate with and have them become part of our office. And so we have an affiliated ministries council who is connected with us. And we have Canterbury Fellowship, which serves Anglican, Episcopalian students, Cru, and InterVarsity, with both groups serve non-denominational communities. Impact Movement, which serves non-denominational Black students. And then we also have Hillel Milwaukee, which serves Jewish students, and Orthodox Christian Fellowship, serving Orthodox communities members on our campus. So great ministers, work closely together, work really well together, really build up each other's activities. Tonight we have an interfaith dinner that we're all sponsoring, and so we're all excited about that and really fostering a space where students can come and explore the topic of friendship. How do I make friends? How do I connect? Well, how does faith support the development of friendship, and what does that look like in various faith traditions? So we got that going on. We try to offer those interfaith engagement opportunities like at least twice a semester. And then as well, we have student organizations that we support and help students that are part of these organizations have religious homes on campus. So I meet with them and support their programming and their activities. And we just want students to really be at home at Marquette. And so sometimes students are like, I'm looking for this. Can you get me connected? It's like, yeah, we know somebody right here. Come and check this out. And they're like, great. And it's like, so I'm not finding this. It's like, you know what? Let's build this together. And so that's all important. Our doors are not only open, but we are an easy sell on trying to make our campus as multi-faith vibrant as possible, because it's part of being a Catholic university. It's part of like welcoming everyone in the world to come and study here together, to think, on the big questions together, to try to work towards the world's needs together, so that when students graduate, they've got that muscle memory. They're able to do that where they live and with whom they work, and that makes the world better. And so we're an important part of that equation.
I've discovered that is one of those Jesuit principles of welcoming all to learn and to educate and to, to send them out to make the world better. It doesn't matter what you believe in. We want to educate you. We want to bring you here. That was one of those really impactful Jesuit principles that I was like, oh, that's what we're about here. Makes me really proud to be a part of Marquette. And I love when you say, we want Marquette to feel like their home. We want Marquette to feel this is where they belong, because, I truly believe that too. And you do a lot of community creating. So one of the things that you do, you offer a lot of program services. You talked about a lot of those, but you also offer a lot of leadership development, and you offer a lot of service opportunities, which I always think that service learning is one of the ways that you develop as a leader. Talk a little bit about those leadership and service opportunities that you provide for our students. Aside from all the programming that you do, you really foster this sort of sense of service and leadership in them. Tell a little bit about that.
So experiential learning is at the heart of Jesuit education. It's about going out in the world and learning from the doing, from the being, not only what's going on in the classroom, but outside, and really taking that to heart. And so we want students to be active, to be experiencing the world. And so all of our initiatives in our office are student-led. It's staff-directed, but we have students in leadership positions and really helping them grow. Like, what's the next step that they can take? For example, like a student comes into our office and is like, I'd like to read at Sunday Mass. It's like, great, jump on in. Well, we're also thinking about and watching, like, what are they passionate about? What are they interested in? Like, is liturgy or prayer or worship an area where that's their jam? And so how do we help them grow in responsibility, maybe helping oversee and prepare for masses or training other students. So we really try to sort of deepen on an individual basis students' interaction. So all of our programs really have, or most of our programs have student teams associated with that. And really we want that peer development in leadership, which also does, I mean, that certainly does include, like, for example, our Marquette Action Program, spring break trips. Like, we have student leaders who are helping to lead students on these service sites and these trips over spring break, and asking, like, okay, what are the justice questions that we're seeing and how do we respond? What are the situations that arrive during this experience? As our office, like, how do we train them to be able to be adept and able to respond in the moment? So if you name an area of our office, we've got students growing in leadership. We want to help them grow so that when they leave, they're like, wow, going to their parishes or their communities. And it's like, where did you learn this? It's like, oh, I was doing this at Marquette. It's like, we want Marquette grads here.
I love that we send students out like that and people get that sense of, like, you could spot a Marquette grad through so many ways, and through spirituality is one of them. That's a big part of you, Steve. So thanks for doing that. We're sort of coming to the end here, but one thing I wanted to ask you about, you're a parent of college students too, as am I. As parents are listening to this, a lot of parents are. What's one piece of advice you would give to parents of college students or parents of incoming college students if they have one coming up? If you could go back and tell yourself one thing, or you just think there's something important to know as the parent of a college student, what would that be?
Trust yourselves, trust your kids. Parents, you got this. You've been doing this really well for 18 years with each of your kids. Keep leaning into that. Keep loving them. Keep giving them space. They're going to grow. They're going to make mistakes. As you know, they make mistakes, they grow, they learn from those, and just keep supporting them. So my relationship with my kids changes every time one of them goes on to college. I have to say, one thing that I would add advice-wise is just when they come home for the breaks, it can be such a joy to have them home, and each leaving moment can be really tough on the parents. And so just give yourselves the grace that you need. Like, Christmas break ends, we're dropping off one of our kids to Marquette, and I'm like, my heart is breaking again for the 50th time, it seems like, but just like trying to find grace and being like, yes, roots and wings. That's what we give our kids, roots and wings. And so they've got strong roots, empower the wings, empower the wings. So yeah, just be easy on yourselves. But it's a great place to learn, and just trust your kids, encourage them to go out and live college maximally, to have experiences, to learn. If they've got, something that they're like, oh, I'd sort of like to do that, and they seem a little bit scared, like, encourage them, like, go on that service trip, or go, explore, take that class, explore that new major. Like, how are you being called? There's so much of our students that come alive during college. And so, and also just make whatever time you can with your kids. You know this, parents, but like, if it's a text message, if it's a call, if it's like, let's grab some food. If they're coming in, from afar, if Marquette's far away, stop in to their favorite place, make those treat moments just to continue to foster your relationship, to tell them that you love them. That's really key.
I love that, roots and wings. That's a really sums it up. If you give them good roots, and you got to give them the wings to be able to grow. So that's a really beautiful thing. And finally, I like to end with what's your we are moment. As you know, our big saying at Marquette is we are
Marquette.
We sure are. So I like to look at that as, what is your we are moment? What's a moment where you really felt that Marquette spirit? You felt a part of the community, that you either felt cared for, or you felt like Marquette really cared for our community in a certain way, or just, it can be a moment or an event or just something where you really felt that we are. I shared mine on our first episode, but so what is one of your we are moments, Steve?
My we are moment are the bookends. I love move-in day. I love new student orientation, the first week of classes, just welcoming the new Marquette that has just arrived, our new students, and just the welcome, the embrace, the excitement, the possibilities, the recreation of our campus community. So exciting. And then on the other end, commencement. As much as it's sad to see our student leaders who we've worked with for years leave, who they've continued to grow into becoming and where they're headed is so exciting. And the celebration of all of their great work and highlighting them and the growth that happens inspires me to no end. It's like, yeah, let's keep doing this. This is what we're about. We are Marquette.
Those are really great moments. I love those moments too. Thank you for sharing. And thank you so much for being here, Steve. I think I speak for all of Marquette when I say we are so lucky and so blessed to have you as the Director of Campus Ministries. You do amazing work here. You bless our students, our faculty, our staff every day. I am so fortunate to get to work with you. Thank you so much for your work. And again, thank you for being a guest today. Thank you for listening to Marquette Cares. Be sure to listen next month when our guest will be Kennedy Luckett, Marquette's first Wade Scholar. So subscribe and follow wherever you're listening so you don't miss any episodes. And remember, Marquette Cares.